Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
I'm back from
Welcome.
Cornwall. And it turns out it's still bloody hot here.
It is, well, it's a little cooler by the sea, I'm happy to say. We were out this morning along the seafront there, and there was a nice breeze, which was very welcome, I can tell you. So I don't know what it is. You've got a lot of trees around where you are at the moment, so you probably don't get much of a breeze.
It's cool in the woods.
Yes, it would be. Yes, well, that's where you want to be, don't you?
Yeah. But all is well. Back okay. Although two young children in a long car journey is quite the challenge. But yeah, all good, all back to normal. So I thought I'd start this podcast off with a question that's come from one of our students wishing to do one of their own pictures. So Julie sent us this picture, which I'll pop up on screen, of a dog. And Julie asks, hi, Steve, meet Rosie. She is my daughter's dog and very much loved. I was asking, well, there's a few questions. So I'll read the whole thing out and then we'll go question by question, Dad. She says, I was asking if I should use grey pastel matte. And if you look, you can see some pinkish tone to some of the fur. I thought cinnamon, but it might be a little strong. What colours would Colin recommend? Also, would it be wise to draw the outline in pastel pencil rather than other mediums? Many thanks for your help and advice you can give me. Regards, Julie. So, Dad, I'm going to ask you the first question. Should she use grey pastel matte for this picture?
Absolutely. A couple of clues there, actually. If you're looking at the grey border area on the right and the left side, that's very much the light grey pastel matte tone, isn't it? And if you look at that compared with the dog, it matches it beautifully. Good, you can't go wrong with that. I would say the light grey. Anything else? You could perhaps use the sand colour pastel matte paper. That would work too, because you've got that in the animal. But I wouldn't. I would use the grey pastel matte.
Great stuff. Excellent.
That's a light grey pastel matte, right?
Light grey pastel matte. Yeah. And if you look, so Julie's email, if you look to some of the pinkish tone to the fur, I think cinnamon, but it might be a little strong. What colours do you see in the fur? Well, I might zoom in a little bit just so we can see a little bit. Try and find those colours.
Yeah. Well, the overall colour, obviously, you'll be using white. You've got to use white and the light greys. I would probably stick to the warmer greys. 170. Sorry, not 170. 270 and 273. If it was 170, it'd be green. So you're in trouble. No, the warm greys. And then you can use, on top of that, once you've got that base in, the white, the little ivory in there, perhaps, to cream it up, then you've got a nice sort of basis for putting some of the stronger tones in. And one of the colours that I see there is the 169. I've used that quite a few times now. And although it's very dark, if you put it on top of those lighter colours, and don't put too much pressure on the pencil, you'll get that tone coming through. I mean, if you're using Faber, that is. If you've got a choice of other colours, then you can go through your range and find other things that would work. And that sort of cinnamon colour there, well, that's kind of, I would use probably 187, again, used very lightly. On that. So, I mean, it's a tricky old animal to do with all that curly fur.
But it's absolutely
lovely.
So then her last question, would it be wise to draw the outline in pastel pencil rather than another medium?
Whatever she likes to do. What I would do is I would always draw my line drawings out on paper first. That's, cartridge paper. That way you can make all your adjustments. You can rub out, you can adjust, and then you get it as you want it. And then I transfer the outline drawing onto my pastel paper. And then very often I do use a pastel. Yes, I would use perhaps a white pastel or a light grey pastel to go through and draw the outline. Depends on the on how much detail you want to put in. But I would tend, and if you're doing it freehand, this is risky or something like this, because again, with freehand, you start doing it and you think, oh, I haven't got that right, so I rub out. And the more you rub out on a pristine pastel mat or any pastel paper, you start destroying the surface. And that can be very tricky when you want to build up your colours again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good stuff. Well, all the best, Julie, with your picture. Let us know how it goes. I hope that advice has been helpful, and I hope that other people have found that interesting as well, because that's why we wanted to put it on the podcast, to kind of pick your brains, Dad, and share your advice on what you would do and your approach. So not only with Julie, but with everyone else as well. So thanks, Julie, and thanks, Dad. Let's talk about now. It's been waiting a few weeks, but we're finally there. Let's go through this horse and bridle picture, which is on the website for everyone to watch, or all members or anyone that wants to purchase it separately. And I know this has been super popular. I think people have been desperate to get their hands on this. So a lot of people have already watched this class already. So if you want to watch it in its full, uninterrupted, with narration, head over to our website. We're going to skip through this and just show sort of key moments, because I think it could be really interesting for us just to discuss your approach and what you're doing in these moments. So I'm going to hit play. The video is muted. Let me just do this. Where is it? Part 1. There we go. 3 parts. So we're just going to skip through a whole range of pencils you've got here across all 4 brands that you work with: Caran d'Ache, Cretacolor, Stabilo, and Faber-Castell. Faber-Castell at the top, I assume, with the most colours that you've picked, and then dipping into the other brands as well. Why have you picked the colours that you've picked in those brands?
Well, my process, I think I've showed people before, how I start the picture off. I've got the picture in front of me, just as you see it there. And I'm kind of picking out base colours, first of all. You've got to have a base colour. You know me and base colours. So you have to start with the base colours. And what I do, I go through all my, I don't know, I've never counted the pastel pencils I've got, but I've got a lot of them. And I start with my Faber, always start with my Faber, and I go through picking out colours I think would work. Very often I put the colour on the photograph, Steve. You know, if I've got a pencil, like I said, a 186 would be very popular in this particular instance. I put that on the and you can tell, you think, yeah, that's the colour I should use. And I go through all of them. It takes a while. I reckon it takes me at least an hour from start to finish, go through all the pencils. And when I got them all there, they are the pencils I think I'm going to use. But, I can change my mind and as I go through.
Of course.
But here, what we're looking at here is the selection of pencils I think I'm going to need for the beginning, around the ear and the top of the head. And you can see the colour on the top there. That's a Carbothello. I think it's 675 in Carbothello, that one. Now, you haven't got one quite like that in Faber. So if you're looking at Faber, you'd have to settle for something 186 you could use, and you could use a little bit of orange with it, 113. But when you've got the selection of pencils that I've got, then you're going to have a little bit more control over the
Yeah.
actual colour you're going to use.
It's so interesting seeing you actually just then
Mm. But
literally putting the colour to the picture, like you just said.
exactly what I was doing. And you can see now that's a good shot, because you can see that pink that I'm using there. You can see that almost exactly matches the colour of the animal. And that's important. That colour there is Cretacolor. I think that's, oh gosh, I can't remember. 130, I think it is in Cretacolor. And that's, I've chosen that because it's a very light colour.
Yeah. Let's just jump a little bit ahead, because otherwise it's a 3-hour class, so we're going to be here a little while. Let's just jump and look at you putting some of those colours in. So you're... Sorry,
That's
go
a
on.
Cretacolor. That's a Cretacolor I was using there. And you can see that the colour that I've got there is not the colour that we were looking at on the horse, but it's the base colour. If you don't do that, if you were to put that orange, you can see that orange that I was talking about, 675, the Carvotella one, waiting in the wings, ready to go. But if you put that on raw paper, it becomes too bright, and you'd never get the colour out again. You know, you could disguise it, but it wouldn't work. So what you're doing, you're waiting patiently for the time when you've got the base colours built up enough so that when that colour goes in, it's rich.
So it's interesting when you put the colour to the picture, obviously you've got to think about, that's not, oh, that's that colour, that's that colour. You've got to think that's that colour with a whole load of base colours in.
Mm-hmm. This is exactly right. And again, well, how do you know what base colours to use? You say, well, this is where you've got to watch all my videos, all 600 of them, because the clues are there. And I know over the years I've built it up, and I know instinctively what colour to use. You can see that colour going in there, but it's still not the colour that we're trying to achieve. Now, this is interesting. I'm putting the white pencil up. That's a little beading, you know, the beading around the ear. I love that bit. And I was in two minds whether to put it in. I could have left it out. But I thought, no, I'll put it in. And I was jolly glad I did, because that really does. It makes it interesting, for one thing. But now we're looking at raw colours, you see. What about the base colours, you say? You're not using base colours. White goes in directly. Blue goes in directly. They have to be, because... You know, I was saying about the richness of the colour that we would use, and it would be too rich for the animal. It wouldn't be too rich for that, because what you want there is the bright colour. And if you put base colours under those white and blue, like pearly things, I don't know what you would call them, that would dull down that colour. So the blue wouldn't be rich. The white would be too dull. You know what I mean? So it's a balancing job.
So interesting. So interesting. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit more, because otherwise, like I say, we're going to be here.
But now you can see that rich colour, what a difference that's made to it.
Yeah, the brightness of those beads now standing out against the animal.
That's right. And you've also got to remember that you're doing a background there, a very dark background. And I put that in there deliberately so that I had the contrast. I could contrast that with the colour of the animal, and it worked brilliantly.
Yeah, it's looking really good. And again, doing the background this time alongside the animal. You know, we talked about last week when you were doing the lion that you were doing the two together, and again in this picture doing the background alongside the animal as you work down.
It gives you a better feel to it. What you want when you're starting out, especially something like this, which is very intricate and very demanding, you want as much help as you can. So by putting that contrast in, you grow in confidence. By the time you say, well, do you need to be confident? Well, not really. No, not now. I kind of instinctively know that I'm on the right track. But when you're starting out, you wouldn't know that. So by doing this, you get the feeling, yeah, I can see it. Once you've got that established, you don't have to you can carry on from then onwards. One of the great things about the pastel pencil is they don't vary. They are the same all the way through. If you had to mix colours, and then you had to mix some more colours, and then some more colours, you might not get it exactly right again. So one part of your animal would be this colour, and another part would be another colour, or another tone, should I say. Slight.
Yeah.
Pastel pencils don't work that way. You've always got that consistency.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's where that part of the course finishes. So I'm just going to find out where's the second part. Let's close that one. We finished that one. It's there. It is. Bear with me 1 minute. This looks like part 2. There we go. So it's just starting basically from where we left off. So I'm just going to skip a little ahead and just jump onto where you're going to be doing and talking about the eye. I imagine it looks quite straightforward.
I think I am, yeah. Again, you see, now this is interesting. There's no base colour in that eye at all. But the 186, which I'm putting in, that's the base colour. Why is that? Well, because I want that richness underneath to be hidden effectively. Whereas with the ear we were talking about, I want that colour to be put on top so that it stands away. Here, I want that 186 to be hidden, to be subdued by the other colours, as you'll see in a minute. If we go through the whole sequence, you'll see that it gets very dark. But if you didn't put that 186 in, you wouldn't get the richness. Even though you can't necessarily pick it out, it's there beneath the surface, if you like.
It's taking a little while to get back to the eye.
Is that a reason? Now. Well, again, now this is important because what I've done the surround of the eye, haven't I? Now I can see the eye, even though when we're looking at it, thinking, that don't look right. That's not right. Of course it's not. But it now gives me something to work with. When I go back to that, I've got a surround, so I can work within that surround. I don't think about this, Steve. When I'm doing my work, I just do it. It's like an instinct. I know that I've got to do it the way I'm doing it. You're waiting till I get there. There you go.
There it is.
Now you see what I'm talking about now. I'm using that very rich colour. It's still not right, though. What's wrong with it? It's got to be darker, hasn't it? You can see that. You need that richness. But you can see the 186 underneath now. 181, my goodness me, 181. Is really, really going to put that in there. Yep. But look at that 181 and how rich that 181 is. Look at the pencil nib and see how dark it is. And now look at what's being put on the in the eye and how rich it is compared with that. This is a wonderful example, Steve. This is of just, and of course the care that I take, and how important now was that surround. Had I not had that, I've had nothing to guide me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll see when this finishes, you'll see, wow. And of course, the eyes are so important. What I'm doing is that I'm just adjusting it slightly, shape-wise.
You get a chance to do that at this point, right?
Well, shape it. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're going to be able to see the finish, but what I also do is I smooth off the area between the dark
There you
and
go.
the light. Where they are. See, I knew I'd get there. There we are. You see, now look at the difference that made. Now you're
You
almost
are taking
losing the light.
care, aren't you?
But look at the colour. This is the important thing. Look at the colour. The colour is rich. And that's what's important. Get the
It
colour.
looks so three-dimensional as well.
Yeah, now you see I've lost the white light altogether. Well, no, I haven't. It's still there. But in a minute, I'm going to be putting it back. But all the colours I've been showing you are all still there. Yeah, now I'm putting the 186, a little bit of 186 back in again now, just to use that little bit of richness. And now this is the final touch. And this is when you go, wow, look at that. Again, look at the care that I'm taking. You see that difference that made? And how many times do I do it? Not just one spot. It's worked into the colour. And now I'm just graduating it.
Wow.
I think
absolutely amazing.
It's a very good example, I think. Look at now you can see it.
Now we can see it at a distance. Yeah.
But it's a lovely, it's a beautiful animal, this is. And I've done quite a few horses, but I think this is probably my favourite horse. I think because I've always resisted not doing the bridles before, Steve, but that made that horse, the bridle made the horse. From an artistic point of view, it made the horse. It was something to work with, something to embellish your reference.
Yeah. I'm just going to get to the final hour now of the class, just to watch you do some of that bridle. As you say, you normally leave them off, so I think it's quite good that we get to see you do some of that.
Look, what I've done. The thing to point out, really, when you see this, is how you get every little section of it standing away. That has to stand away, you see, from the animal. So the only way you can do that is put the shadow behind it, and then it pushes it back, pushes it forward.
There's a lot of work to do around, for that reason, there's a lot of work to do around the bridle, isn't it? It's not just, I'm going to add in the bridle. It's as simple as that. It's, I've got to make that stand away, be part of the animal, the shading, all of those things that you've got to think about as well as just drawing that in.
Yes, and maintaining the colour. And of course, it's really a stainless steel, so you've got to use a bit of grey in there as well eventually, like now, for instance. And here I saw a little bit of texture. Wasn't very much, but just a little bit of texture in the that section of I think it's leather. It's in leather, but it made a big difference to the appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Interesting to see you smooth this. Well, dabbing it as well, not even smoothing it, just dabbing it, just to soften it a bit.
If I had done that, I'd have just blended everything in, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to retain what I got, but I wanted to push it. I call it pushing into the paper. So that's what I'm doing now. Painstaking, but worth it. Because you get it's softer. You can see how that's working. Now, this is, I think, one of the hardest parts of the animal. Because if you get it wrong, it's right in the front. So the greys are in there. There's a little ochre in there. And now we've got that lovely colour. I can't remember what that colour is called. Oh, no good me trying to guess it. There's two very similar ones there, look.
Is there a temptation at this point to I suppose not so much from your experience, but is there a temptation for the student to kind of rush through this last little bit, knowing that it's so close to the end?
Yep. Yes, it's a failing that you think, oh, for goodness sake, I've just got to do it. Let's put that dark bit in. Don't worry about the background, put it in. Ruin it if you did that. You've got to wait. Everything has got to be done at the right time. It's probably frustrating for people looking at it and say, why don't you get on with it? Just doing that. But all of that is critical. And it's not until you see the end product, you think, God, you look like now, for instance, look at that now. And we're nearly there now. And this is that colour again, that I think it was 675. I'm sure it's 675. I don't use it much, but because it's a very rich colour, but it worked perfectly for that particular something. There you go. More signatures are going on. People ask me how do you know what colour to use? Well, you don't really, but that was the obvious. That was a pink I used. That was the very light pink one. But doesn't it look good though?
It's stunning, and no wonder a lot of people want to do this picture and see how you did it. I can see this, continuing to be really popular. And horses are such an attractive animal as well, and they're so popular because they're just so interesting to look at, and they must be quite satisfying to draw as well.
Oh yes. Well, I mean, all animals are, but I do try to bring out the personality of an animal. I mean, there's a horse is a horse, but if somebody does own that horse, I would imagine if they could see it. It was one I got from where did I get this from? I think it was my reference animal. Artists put their pictures, photographic references up on Facebook and for anybody to use, which is very good of them. And you get pictures like the lion cub that came up as well. I mean, you can't, unless you go to the jungle and take your pictures, or go to the, pictures of horses, but you never get and unless you're very, very good at photography and prepared to spend hours and hours and hours waiting for the right picture. So this is a good shortcut for us. But that did come out very well.
Really lovely. Thanks for taking us through that, Dad. I hope that's been interesting, to see the highlights of that, and also give people a little glimpse into the kind of classes that you do, even though we didn't have your voice on the class. Obviously there's narration and you're teaching as you go along. But for the sake of this podcast, I've muted that so we can talk about it. But if anyone wants to do this picture, then head over to the website, colinbradleyart.com. You can get access to all of our classes with a membership, or you can get this course on its own, and you'll get a list of all the materials you need, the outline drawing if you don't want to do the picture freehand, and then obviously the videos on teaching how to colour it. So yes, thank you, Dad. Thanks again to Julie for sending in the question. If anyone else has got a question that they want to ask us, then feel free to email us or comment on this video. Many ways to get in touch with us, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. So that's it for this week. Thank you everyone for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley. Enjoy your week.